For a great cup of joe, there's one thing you should know. Your morning brew can also be playful. Buff Boy Brewing guys make the temperature rise, and you surely feel naughty when you swallow our coffee. If you want some real heat, give your mouth a fine treat. You will want some more, rest assured. Buff Boy Brewing, you can't get enough of.
It's time for The Scribble, your weekly fix of celebrity chats, bizarre stories in the news, and basic random chatter with best-selling author and syndicated radio host Jeremy Bradley. Make sure your seat is in the upright and locked position and your barf bag is securely in place. Here's Jeremy Bradley.
Thank you very much, Larson. Jeremy Bradley here. This is The Scribble. We've been doing this show for 30-some weeks now. We need a new introduction, I think. It's about time for change, don't you? We're not on an airplane. There's no barf buckets here. We throw up in the toilet after we drink too much in the studio, just like anybody else. Putting your pants on one leg at a time. You know what? Actually, no, this is interesting. Because I was thinking about this the other day. You've heard that saying, right? We all put our pants on one leg at a time. I don't. I sit on the bed, and I pull both pant legs up at the same time. So no, I don't stand up and put on my pants. I do it maybe it's the odd way. Look at this. We're going to start with a poll question. I want your opinion on this. And send me an email, jb@jbonair.com. Do you get dressed by putting your pant legs on one leg, or putting your pants on one leg at a time? Or do you sit on the bed and you just stick both legs out and you pull your pants on? How do you do it? Now I feel like a freak. We're a minute into the show, and I already feel like I'm doing something wrong just getting dressed in the morning. Send me an email, jb@jbonair.com, jb@jbonair.com. Now, speaking of clothing and fashion, there's a show in Canada called The Social, and it's hosted by some very, very flashy-looking women. So think of The View, decades younger, and The Talk, more fashion conscious. That's The Social on CTV. And so one of the co-hosts will be joining us a little bit later on in the show. I'm not going to ask about the pants thing. I'm not even going to go there. But there's definitely a lot to talk about in terms of current events, or hot topics that everybody describes it as. Stories in the news that we're going to talk with Cynthia about. So stick around, because she's going to be joining us in just a little while. Now, also, last week on the show, we gave you some cheapskate tips, right? From my book called The Official Guide to Being an American Cheapskate, or, if you're from Winnipeg, The Official Guide to Being a Winnipeg Cheapskate. And we've got another segment of cheapskate tips, because Halloween is coming, right? We're already mid-October almost here. And how can you have a cheap and fun Halloween? Those details are coming up. And we're giving it to you free, by the way, so you're not even having to buy the book. That is how cheap you are. You are stealing No, I'm just kidding. We're giving you the details from the book coming up a little bit later. But Cynthia Loyst from The Social on CTV will be joining us right after this.
Are you tired of commuting to a job that makes someone else rich? Working harder than ever, but getting nowhere? Do you hate spending hundreds of dollars every week on daycare? Having someone else raise your children? With our opportunities, you can start earning money as soon as next week. You get to be the boss, work from home, and live a happier life. At Be the Boss Network, you'll find hundreds of work-from-home opportunities that you can literally start today and be earning money as soon as next week. Go to freedom41.com and start earning money as soon as next week. You get to be the boss. Get out of the rat race. Work from home. Go to freedom41.com right now and change your life today. That's freedom, the number 41.com. Go to freedom41.com and start earning money as soon as next week. You be the boss. Go to freedom41.com.
Celeb spotting on The Scribble.
It's The View meets The Talk, but with better fashion sense and younger women. I can say that, right? Of course I can. I'm talking about The Social on CTV. One of the co-hosts joining us on the line. Hello, Cynthia Loyst. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. So, she's the breastfeeding enthusiast and never pictures her coworkers naked. Where do we begin?
I love that you know this much about me. I feel like we're good friends already.
Good icebreaker. Okay, so because you bring up the breastfeeding thing on Twitter, so tell what's that all about? Where did that start?
Well, yeah. So where did it start? It started when I gave birth.
Right.
It didn't start before then, strangely. I'm one of those people who's a big breastfeeding enthusiast, much to the chagrin of my co-host. It's one of those divisive topics, and I'm still breastfeeding it. My son is 2.5 now, so again, I think some audience members both love that and other ones cringe at it, but I don't care.
Okay, so one topic we've never covered. Now the second one being you've never pictured your coworkers naked, but you've seen them naked, right?
Yes, one of my co-hosts, Lainey Louie, she's a gossip blogger, and she likes to show her exhibitionistic side on a regular, so she's often flashing us backstage or in her office. So I have seen her naked. But yeah, I don't picture my co-host naked, but I do picture the audience naked on the regular.
Well, now this brings up the question, though, like, are the censors on edge that she's just going to whip them out, on the show, or is it okay? She's pretty...
No. I think, everyone knows that Lainey's she's a playful, exhibitionistic character who's very comfortable with her sexuality.
For sure. So The Social, it's back on CTV, and I'm fully aware that I could never be in the audience just because I don't have fashion sense. I think you have the best-looking audience in television as well.
You know what? I agree with you. Not that you couldn't be on the show, but that we do have the best-looking audience in television. People come decked out. That is one of the, I feel like, huge draws to the show is our love of fashion. And it's something that has started from day one, that we love to kind of coordinate loosely with each other, and each one of us has our very own individualistic styles, and I think a lot of the times our styles represent and reflect our personalities.
So what you're saying is I'm due for a makeover on your show, is what I hear you offering.
You say the word, come on over.
All right. I'll have my people be in touch. But, when the show first started, and even in my introduction, I mentioned The Talk and The View, and I'm sure you heard the comparisons, and maybe you still do. What's different about The Social than other daytime talk shows?
Well, I think it is in particular our dynamic with each other. You've got 4 women who are around the same age, but we each are so different. You've got, of course, Lainey Louie, who's a gossip blogger. You've got Tracy Melchor, who's an entertainment reporter. Melissa Grello is a former news anchor, and myself, who's a relationship and sexuality expert. And each one of us comes at topics from very different political sides, I would say. Also, some of us are parents. One of us is a single mom. All those differing perspectives certainly inform our opinions on each of the topics. And I think one of the other things that we hear consistently from viewers is that we're able to show how women, who a lot of times I think are stereotyped as being catty with one another and like to cut each other down, we can have healthy debates on a variety of topics and still walk away being amazing friends. You can feel our chemistry and our love for one another. And the audience really responds to that. And that's the other dynamic that I think is different, is that we're live, we're unscripted, and we interact with our audience both in real time and then after the show is done. So if people comment on us, or whether they agreed with us or didn't agree with us, we often respond, and we use their information and what they're interested in as a springboard for topics that we discuss on the show. So it's a real intimacy that we share with our viewers.
Okay, so you mentioned women. There's some women in the news, and of course I've got to get your opinion. High-profile stories. Your thoughts on the Caitlyn Jenner and Kris Jenner drama?
Well, I'm really enjoying watching Caitlyn Jenner, come out as herself. And even though, she's an interesting character, she is part of that Kardashian clan. And I do feel for Kris Jenner, in the sense of, obviously it would be difficult to watch this unfold. She loved Bruce Jenner, her husband, and to see this, you would both feel, I think, a celebration of a person living authentically, but also mourn the loss of your life partner in that way. I think it's going to be interesting to watch unfold. I've always felt that Bruce Jenner, or now Caitlyn Jenner, was the most interesting of the Kardashian clan. And I think that this show, even though it's controversial, her show, I think it's actually going to hopefully open many people's eyes to the lives of transgender people.
There was a lot of controversy about doing this show for the right reasons in terms of educating and bringing awareness. But there was this whole negotiating behind the scenes, $2 million, $5 million. Now there's a price tag on telling your story. Does it tarnish really the intention of what you're doing and why?
She's a high-profile woman. She's certainly a business-minded person, And I think it remains to be seen how much of that kind of money that she's demanding will end up being back into the lives of other, programs that she might start. I can see her doing things like that. And I also think that, people made a lot about her being a Republican, which was shocking to me as well, just because the Republicans have been notorious for not necessarily supporting the LGBT community. But in a way, I feel like her influence could really change things. To have somebody who actually is on that political side, than having an ear, and being an influencer, I feel like we may see some real change on that landscape. So, I understand people being upset about the money, and again, it remains to be seen how much of an influencer she will be, because she can't necessarily relate to the regular person who is struggling. She has money on her side, and that's always going to put her in a position of privilege. But I think I want to hold out and believe that she's going to use that money for good.
For sure, yeah. In terms of a reality show, I mean, the very first scene in the first episode was being styled by three people and talking about the struggles of being a trans woman. So it kind of set viewers up for, is this really reality? Because that's not how most people have it. So,
exactly. But what would we expect? I mean, we have to expect that will be the way in which she would present herself, and that would be. She's not going to suddenly decide to, change her entire income structure as a result of this. And I get why that ruffles some feathers, and I get why people feel like that makes her very unrelatable. But I still think, the fact that she's out there and people are talking about this is a good thing, ultimately.
I think the sore spot for Chris was that Caitlin looks better and has more, stylists on her side. Maybe that's what it was at the heart of it.
No.
Another female, and you mentioned the LGBT community, Kim Davis. We know the name. She was locked up for not issuing marriage licenses to same-sex couples. Everybody's calling her a hypocrite, right? Kids out of wedlock, married a bunch of times. I have to know your opinion on her.
It's just been so disheartening to watch that whole story unfold. And, ultimately she was given a job, and that job she did not fulfill on the basis of her religion. And I just don't think that you can ever, I can't believe people can support that idea. And that now this has become something that people are using, I feel in the Republican debates, she's coming up time and time again about what are your stance on the Kim Davis story. And I just feel like I wish it would just die. And I don't want to hear any more about Kim Davis and her politics. I think that, those are those types of things that inflame people and incense people, and then people stop making sort of open-minded decisions. The bottom line is that she was given a job. It was the law for her to fulfill that job, and she can't bring her personal politics into that.
Would you feel differently if she was a breastfeeder?
No, I would not.
Okay. If you could name any celebrity as Prime Minister of Canada, who would it be and why?
I think that it would be Celine Dion.
Okay.
Because she is filled with so much love and so much heart. I think that she would want to do the best for our country. And plus, because she's such a beloved person in the United States, I mean, you could see her sort of bridging those two worlds together, and she would do a hell of a job at singing both of our national anthems.
Every host, radio or TV, has their dream guest. Who would yours be, and what would you ask them?
Oh my gosh, my dream guest would be Prince. I'm a huge, lifelong fan of his, and my question to him would be, would you marry me?
And how do you think that would go over at home?
Well, I feel like that might be one of those things where my life partner would be, his name's Jason, and he would be like, well, as long as you guys can maybe just sort of like live in Minneapolis part-time and then come back home, he might be okay with that. No, he would not be okay with that.
I was going to say, so Prince would be your free pass, your hall pass.
That's right. We all have to have at least a hall pass.
Well, The Social, it's on CTV live every day, right?
That's right. It's live, unscripted, every day, 1 p.m.
And again,
it may air in a different time spot.
Right. So check your local listings. And again, you never know when the hosts are just going to flash the camera because they're just like that. Cynthia, thanks so much for joining us.
You never know what we're going to say, what we're going to do, when we might break out into song, when we might break into dance. It is very, very spontaneous and very, very silly at times.
And if there's one thing we know, because it's Canadian, it's going to be friendly.
That's right. Well, not always, actually.
True.
I would say that Lainey she's known for her snark.
True. You know what? We're out of time. One more question. At the beginning, the opening, where you guys do is it a prayer circle? What's happening at the beginning of the show there in the opening titles?
Yes, right from the beginning when we launched the show, every day we have a ritual that we do behind the scenes, and we say a couple words to each other. It's the same thing, and every time we have a guest, whether it's Lauren Hawley, whether it's, Justin Trudeau, someone who's with us holding our hands, we all say the same ritual to them, and I can't tell you what it is, or else I would have to kill you, but that was, the producers picked up on that, and they wanted to show that on the opening.
There's that whole friendly thing we were just talking about. She's going to have to kill me if she tells me.
That's right.
I always thought that... I thought that somebody had landed on Community Chest or like you're playing Monopoly and you get handed the cards. That was my.
Maybe that was it too.
Yeah, someone won $20 in the beauty contest. You've played the game. All right, so the social is on CTV. Check your local listings. Cynthia, thanks so much for joining us today.
Thanks, Jeremy.
If you're diabetic, this message could change your life. Is your blood sugar out of control even when you do all the right stuff? Are you afraid of diabetic blindness and the risk of amputation, as well as all those other side effects? Well, you should be. Is there anything that could help manage your blood sugar? Nobetes is a natural supplement that may quickly and dramatically lower your blood sugar.
My name is Bob Corder. I've been using Nobetes for about 3.5 to 4 months now, and in the first 3 months, I've actually lowered my blood sugars from 500s down to 139, and then it dropped to 88 to 93.
My name is Kirsten. I'm a type 1 diabetic, and while taking Nobetes, my blood sugar levels dropped from 295 to 115 in just 1 day.
The FDA hasn't evaluated these statements, and Nobetes isn't intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. But for many, it's helped drop their blood sugar. So if you've been evaluated with high blood sugar, don't delay. Evaluate Nobetes now. Call 800-478-9568 and get your free bottle. Just cover shipping and handling. Call 800-478-9568. That's 800-478-9568.
Ever had something to get off your chest but never had the balls to say it? That's a load of crap. Speak Free with JB.com is exactly what you've been waiting for. Your chance to tell it like it is and not care what anybody else thinks. Have your say on issues of the day. Join newspaper and radio columnist Jeremy Bradley as he tells it like it is. Hundreds of thousands of people have stopped by, including some well-known celebrities who have had a chat with JB and speak candidly about what's really going on in the world. You can join them too. Have a rant or a rave. Be brave and head on over to www.speakfreewithjb.com now.
Jeremy Bradley here, back on the Scribble. All right, so we were talking, daytime talk shows, basically. The Social is really the only one in Canada that's on the air. I don't think there's any competition aside from, those daily morning shows that you have in your local area, in your city. So, obviously, the U.S. has The View in the morning and then The Talk in the afternoon. The View being on ABC, that's the show that Barbara Walters created and has been in a tailspin for the past, I don't even know, maybe 10 years or so. It's been crumbling. And then The Talk on CBS comes on, in the afternoon, kind of sweeps up. It's less political. It's more kind of entertainment-ish. And so with The View, we've got to talk about this because there's been so many shakeups and so much drama that's played out in the last few months. So last season, they fired basically everybody except Whoopi Goldberg, right? Or Rosie O'Donnell was on. She was canned. A bunch of those other no-names were on there. They're gone. So then they bring in some more no-names and then bring back Joy Behar, who was one of the original cast. She was on our radio show a couple of years ago as well. So Joy Behar returns. Whoopi's on there. Then you've got Raven whatever from Cosby, who I don't really get. And then Candace Cameron Bure, the bigot from Full House, or Fuller House now. So she's kind of making it like it's her own show because she tweeted a couple weeks ago that her first guest was going to be John Stamos. Her first guest? It's not her show, right? And then you've got that comedian Michelle something or other who offended all the nurses on week 1 or week 2, so all the advertisers were pulling out of the show. She's the comedian who, rather than lending any sort of decent conversation, she kind of tries to make a joke about everything. So if they're having an actual serious discussion, she'll chime in, but it's got to be with something she thinks is funny, or else she really doesn't have anything to say. So, that's again one of the problems when you have a comedian on. So very little substance, all trying to be funny. And she made a splash. She made a trickle when she appeared on After Paradise. That was the show from Bachelor in Paradise. And again, that was kind of the impression that I got of her. First time I'd ever even heard of her. So Michelle what is it? Collins, thank you so much. So I have a bet in the office here, and then something Ferris. I have a bet of who's going to be the first one fired. Now, I think they're going to keep Candace Cameron Bure on because people will hate her. Not so much as Elizabeth Hasselbeck or Jenny McCarthy, but close. She'll be getting there if she's on enough times. She hasn't really been on that much. But definitely there's going to be some firings. Now, there's also some rumblings when it comes to Whoopi Goldberg, who apparently now has to show, or they wanted her to show up at 8:30 in the morning. She says her contract states that she needs to be at work for 9 o'clock every day. So now the Hot Topics meeting that they have happens at 8:30. Well, apparently Whoopi went on a rant. We talked about this on Entertainment Wrap-Up the other week, that she was basically calling herself a slave for ABC. 12 years of Whoopi, she used the N-word, and she was running up and down making these comments, and the executive's obviously not too happy about it. Now, the interesting thing about Whoopi's contract, from what I understand, is that she's paid about $5 million a season, and if she's fired or quits, they still need to pay her that money. So it's not like they're going to get off scot-free and, okay, well, let's just dump her and save millions of dollars. They're going to pay her either way, from what I understand. So definitely some interesting twists and turns on The View. Is it increasing viewership? No, it is not. Hopefully we'll have one or two of the ladies from The View on our radio shows in the coming weeks, because we've put that out there. We actually put it out there last season, and we didn't have time to get to it. But definitely, hopefully, there's enough of them on the show this year that one or two of them might be able to spare a few minutes. I don't think they'd be commenting on the gossip going on behind the scenes, but certainly we'll talk about what's happening on the show. So that is something to look forward to as well. Now, coming up, earlier I mentioned about my cheapskate book, right? Those tips. We had it last week about how you can save money when you're home shopping and just trying to find a new place to live. And with Halloween right around the corner, it's one day, and it's not even like it's Christmas where you spend maybe 2 days having it. It's basic, and it's a weekend this year, right? So you're going to have maybe part of the afternoon and then well into the night in your costume, dressed up with your makeup, whatever it is. There's no need to go broke for a few hours of fun. Let's put it like that. So we've got some tips for Halloween on the cheap. Right now, actually, let's do your cheapskate checkpoint.
Cheapskate Checkpoint on the Scribble. Brought to you by cheapskatebook.com. If you're a stupid spender, become a genius saver at cheapskatebook.com. Here's best-selling tight-ass Jeremy Bradley.
You freak.
Something scarier than Halloween costumes is the price of them. It seems that you have to save up just to get the actual outfit, much less the accessories to go with it to complete the look. It's true that the expensive costumes from a store are impressive and will catch people's attention, but sometimes the creativity of making your own is funnier, but more importantly, more fun. I'm not suggesting you grab items from around the house to put together a lame costume. Well, I guess you can if that's what you're looking for. But half the fun in getting ready for Halloween is the planning and, if you're like me, seeing how much you can make it work for little money. Thinking about what's popular this year, let's say Jersey Shore, I know we're going back a few years. On some costume store websites, you could get a costume for about $40. If you're like me, you might think that doesn't sound like much initially, but if you do some creative thinking, you can make the outfit for about $9. It is not hard to find muscle shirts and slinky black dresses at a thrift store. In fact, a dress for $2 is not unheard of at many stores. It is tacky, it is short, it does the trick. And you have to have the shoes to go with the outfit. Guess what? 50 cents for a pair of heels at the thrift store. Remember, the joke of dressing like a Jersey Shore character is to look ridiculous. So, the dress is bought. Next, you need the hair. You'd be surprised how easy and cheap it is to spray paint your hair and stick an empty soup can underneath to give it that poof. You know what I'm talking about. You could go all out and buy the official Jersey Shore wig for $15, but a $2 bottle of hairspray paint and an empty can from the recycling bin is way more economical. To complete the look, many people opt for orange face paint to exaggerate the tans of the MTV cast. A quick trip to the dollar store can score you a $1 tube of face paint. Also, getting ridiculous sunglasses, the bigger the better, will seal the deal and make you look like a Jersey Shore star. As for the kids, they will naturally want the expensive costumes of the trendy characters that are out now. Like I mentioned before, part of the fun of Halloween is planning and the involvement to make your own customized costume. It won't take much convincing to have the kids agree to start from scratch and have a good time picking out all the details of their own costume. Let's make it something special like nobody else has, you could say. Everybody is going to be wearing the one from the store. Let's make your own. This is where trips to discount stores and craft shops will come in handy and save you a bundle. Buying some material or construction paper, or even just getting ideas walking up and down the aisles of the stores will help. When Prince William and Kate's royal wedding happened, I was on a mission to create a hilarious hat to watch the ceremony. I had a goal and accomplished it by putting in a little time and effort. So, you've completed your look for Halloween, but how are you dressing up your home? Years ago, when I worked at a party supply store, people were coming in and spending hundreds of dollars for decorations to have the flashiest house on the block. And that's great if it's a passion of theirs to create a spectacular spectacle, but let's be realistic. Is it necessary to go overboard like that? It really isn't. I am a firm believer that dollar stores should be ransacked when it comes to holiday decorating. There were many decorations our party store sold for $15 that you can get for $1 or $2 at a discount store. Don't get me wrong, the quality might not be as good, but if it is simply a decoration that's going to hang on a wall or outside for one day of the year, durability shouldn't be an issue. Even if it is, at $2 to replace it, you're not all that bad off. Many stores sell decorations at inflated prices. For instance, glow-in-the-dark products are generally available all year round. Just putting those products in a Halloween section can see the price skyrocket. How do I know? I was one of the employees that had to move them there and mark up the price. Black light bulbs and other types of lighting are not specifically a Halloween product. If you buy some earlier in the year, you might be able to get them cheaper. The party store I managed was great at re-merchandising products to tie them in with different events. Like costumes, decorations take planning. Thankfully, I had stockpiled decorations after my employment at the party store, but take into consideration what and where you are decorating before you go crazy and overspend. I made that mistake by getting even more stuff when I moved into a bigger house. All I was decorating was the front window that is actually mostly entirely hidden by a big tree and the front doorway. I rushed out to get more things, but when it came time to actually set the stuff up and open up the packages, I had no use for most of it. Halloween is one of those tricky decorating times because unless you're hosting a party or having people over for a Halloween-related event, you don't need to dress up a large area of your home. For me, it was all about the visuals as people went by, and then when kids spent that 5 seconds getting candy before rushing off at my door. I had previously bought a strobe light and fog machine, but as I fumbled with opening the door, holding it open, giving the kids the candy, and making sure I wasn't forgetting anybody, the last thing on my mind was the wow factor of a blast of fog for the kids. Depending on where you live, you might even have troubles with your windows fogging up, as the cool fall air mixed with the indoor heat makes a mess of any sort of window decorations you have. Sometimes less is more with decorating. You have to remember Halloween isn't a season, so overdoing it like you would for Christmas might not be the smartest financial decision. For the most part, Halloween is completely forgotten about the next day. Actually, I took a lesson from my mom, who sets up Halloween decorations the day of and takes them down when she shuts off the front light and calls it a night once the trick-or-treaters have gone. The key to a great Halloween is keeping the costs down and the creativity up.
Are you tired of commuting to a job that makes someone else rich? Working harder than ever, but getting nowhere? Do you hate spending hundreds of dollars every week on daycare? Having someone else raise your children? With our opportunities, you can start earning money as soon as next week. You get to be the boss, work from home, and live a happier life. At Be the Boss Network, you'll find hundreds of work-from-home opportunities that you can literally start today and be earning money as soon as next week. Go to freedom41.com and start earning money as soon as next week. You get to be the boss. Get out of the rat race. Work from home. Go to freedom41.com right now and change your life today. That's freedom, the number 41.com. Go to freedom41.com and start earning money as soon as next week. You be the boss. Go to freedom41.com.
We hear you chirping. Get scribbling. Tweet up the Scribble at The Scribble Show. Join the discussion with Jeremy Bradley. It's all going down right now on Twitter at The Scribble Show and at thescribbleshow.com.
That's right, Larson. Follow us on Twitter at The Scribble Show. And I'm going to admit that I'm not the one on the receiving end of those tweets. That's our executive producer, Bonnie Winters. She's mentioned to me a few times that people direct message
hey Jeremy, and it's not me. My Twitter, if you do want to know, is at @sfcelebwatch, at SF as in speak free celebwatch, at @sfcelebwatch. But Bonnie is a lovely person. I'm sure she'd love to have some tweets from you at the Scribble Show. I do read them. It's just I'm not the one who's manning that Twitter handle all day long. She is, but I do see your messages, and I do thank everybody who writes in. And feel free to give me a shout by email if you're not into the Twitter, as my dad would say. My email address is jb@jbonair.com, jb@jbonair.com. If you'd like to chat with us on the show one day, or if there's a celebrity guest you'd like us to have, definitely shoot me an email, jb@jbonair.com. My name is Jeremy Bradley. This is The Scribble. I will talk to you same time, same place next week. Bye-bye, everybody.
Want more Scribble? Check out thescribbleshow.com for past shows, celebrity interviews, cheapskate tips, and more. That's at thescribbleshow.com and on Twitter at The Scribble Show. The Scribble is a speak-free media presentation.
If you want some real heat